Hey, what's up, space pirates? Spirits? What's a
Spirits. I
spirit?
like that. I like
I like
that.
that.
That's
A
a. I'm
spirit.
coining that.
My
Coining
fellow
that on you. We
spirits.
have hello
Space
spirits
pirates. Space pirates are spirits. I'll keep that in there.
and
I won't take
spirits
that
were
off.
born.
Spirits. Hey, what's up, spirits, rebel scum, and kids alike? And welcome to a Nerdy Bunch weekly review for Star Wars Skeleton Crew. My name's English Dave, and joining me on this forced grand adventure is my co-pilot and co-host, Andrew. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, David? What's up, Spider-Verse fans?
Now you changed to Spider-Verse? Where did that come from? It's Spirits. Gosh. The Spirits almost sounds like pirate spies. Like a
Right,
pirate spy show. Spirits.
right. Or stylish pirates.
Right. So I think we have to workshop that one a bit more. Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk brand new Star Wars show. I love when there's a new Star Wars show out. You never know how things are going to go.
Never.
Either everyone's going to embrace it, or people are going to hate it, or everything in between. You never know.
And this one is pretty divisive, or it's not as the reception has been as warm from some things I hear. But
um,
is that warranted? ...
Here to talk new Star Wars show titled Skeleton Crew. The show is set after the fall of the Empire that we saw in the original movies, so it's around the same, but before the rise of the New Order. So it's around the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Book of Boba era. But this one's more kids-focused series.
Yes.
Lots of people have been talking things like comparing it to things like the Goonies. Stand By
I've heard that a
Me.
few times.
Yeah, a lot of these kind of kids' adventure narratives, coming of age storylines.
Yep.
It's one of those shows that pretty much for the most part, at least right now, it doesn't seem like you need a lot of Star Wars backstory to watch.
No, not
You
at
don't
all.
need to do research. Maybe there's little things you might catch if you are someone who's well versed in it.
For
But I
sure.
feel like, yeah, I agree with that. Spoiler free, what were your expectations going in, and how did you feel watching the first 2 episodes?
I expected not much. I knew from my little research that it was it was being aimed at younger audiences. So I was watching this like kind of with a blank canvas. I don't think one of the beauties and perils of Star Wars releases in the past is that we've gotten polar opposites.
Mhm.
We've gotten fantastic shows and also terrible ones. So yeah, going in, I think I knew. I think honestly, mentally, I was expecting more like Stranger Things. um, Not that dark, right? But just like that level of wittiness. And it's not exactly that. But it's not childish either, right? That's one thing I have to say. Like, I think for sure it's not necessarily aimed at necessarily old audiences, but it's not a childish affair. And the intro is not a spoiler, but I literally like the the opening scenes, beautiful. There's some beautiful, beautiful shots in this, I have to say, and I think it was very visually engaging in a lot of ways. And some of the worlds that we're seeing, I think were actually gorgeous. So, expectations, but like I said, not really saying I had any, but I'm curious to see where it goes. So it's definitely, I think, a show that I'm enjoying. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
It's a show that I think by design, I've noticed that hasn't been marketed that much leading up
Hmm.
to it.
Yeah.
And I think that might be sometimes Disney's realizing that let's not oversaturate and to
Hmm.
build expectations, because there's
Yeah.
nothing worse than Star Wars or nerd fans building expectations before something hits.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a good thing. I think this is gonna be a show that becomes a sleeper hit that slowly grows
Yeah.
because
And
it
it
doesn't have
exists.
expectations
Yeah.
going in. And also, for people who say things like, "Oh, it's a bit childish," and stuff like that, I'm like, "No, do you even like Star Wars?" Because Star Wars kind of started out as more of a younger leaning narrative,
Hmm. Hmm.
and not to say that, oh, you have to enjoy it, but I just say that one Star Wars, this is going back to the roots of Star Wars, right? Star Wars has given us some great adult leaning
Hmm.
storylines
Hmm.
like Mando and Andor. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, this is back to its roots. It started off
Yeah.
for kids stuff. So I always find that you shouldn't, just because things of, the kids that were young with Star Wars grew up, we were introduced to Star Wars with the kids side of Star Wars.
Hmm.
My first Star
Hmm.
Wars
Yeah.
wasn't Mando.
Yeah.
you know,
That's
so you
an
need
interesting way to look at it.
you need an entry point, and I think for one, both
It's
narratively
gonna be a
and
great entry point
age-wise,
for a
this is
lot
a
of kids.
great entry point for
Oh,
young kids.
I almost wish I had the because like I said, I mentioned visually stunning at times. Like it looks good. It's not doesn't feel shabby.
And it's a great entry point because it doesn't come packaged with all the lore
Hmm.
out the gate, right? So you don't need to understand the lore
No
because
need to
even
know anybody.
it's not. But even like the stuff of like what is a Jedi, what is a Sith, what is all this
Don't worry.
crazy
Don't
stuff.
worry. Don't worry
Don't
about
worry
that.
about it.
I
And
we'll get there.
in many cases, it almost feels like it's Skeleton Crew Star Wars. It feels like more. It feels less in
Yeah.
a good way. It
Yeah.
feels like its own show that has
Hmm.
Star Wars elements. So it's not
Hmm.
Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It's
Yeah.
Skeleton. I keep saying skeleton. I don't like you say skeleton. Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton.
Skeleton
Skeleton
Crew.
crew.
It feels like it's like a pirate show called Skeleton Crew, right?
Hmm.
As opposed to a new Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And at first, going into that, I thought this would be a show that, would be aimed squarely at the younger audience that some older audiences can enjoy. But I
Yeah.
think after watching it, there's a third demographic this is aimed at. And I think the demographic is something that you and I and many others fall into,
Okay.
where it's for those of us who are nostalgic for those types of
Hmm.
adventure kids,
Yeah.
the Goonies, and those kind of shows and movies that we used to watch.
Yeah.
It for me, it brought back a lot of that. I think right off the bat, I'm enjoying the show. I'm into it.
Hmm.
I think for the most part, you get some people saying things, but I think for the most part, so far audiences are liking it. It currently has a 95% critic Rotten Tomato score and
Hmm.
84% audience score. So I'd say
Yes.
that's a pretty good start. At the end of the day, a show like this lives or dies by the kids actors, and I think they're great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like them. I like the characters. I like the actors. I think they have good chemistry. It
I
feels good.
agree.
I always worry when it comes to writing children. Sometimes some writers can't write children. They just write them so corny or stereotypical. But these kids feel
Yeah.
like
Not at
kids,
all. Yeah.
right? The kids
But
going on this adventure.
individual. Like I can
Yes,
see each of the
yes.
personalities and their
You can
behavior. And that.
you can see the potential character dynamics between each
Hmm.
characters, right? As
Hmm.
opposed to just one or two, and they just seem like kids being kids, having
Hmm.
fun. It does remind me of childhood, and I think
So,
it's that kind of fun adventure show. So
mm,
I'm in for
um,
it. The
same.
continued, and it does some cool visual stuff with the Star Wars universe. Like you said, it also reminds us that it is Star Wars, and they are in this kind of larger than life narrative. So like
Galaxy far, far away.
it it isn't shy from getting a bit darker, and then it's not you're not
Mhm.
gonna see heads cut off, but it doesn't you don't feel
Mm.
like it's being,
It's not holding back per
no,
se,
no,
right?
no,
It's just
exactly,
like
exactly.
this is a story that's playing out.
Yes, yes,
But
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes, exactly. Alright, let's go
let's
into
spoil it.
spoilers. Um, it's interesting, what I like about this is that usually when you get double episodes, it usually feels like to just put 2 episodes for the sake of it. But I think
Mhm.
this works well because the first episode is to really introduce the kids and the world
Yeah,
they live in, their school lives, and then the second episode is when we leave that.
so this
Uh,
is the story.
yes, exactly. So let's
Okay, now
start
we
with
go.
introducing the children, right? We're
It's
introduced to Wim, Neil, Fern, and KB. What do you think of the kids and their introduction?
all cool. Fire is my favorite already, of course.
Mhm.
um, I love the introductions. I think you just mentioned it that they all do a good job in acting and portraying being kids, but not being like airheads, right? I think that's the key distinction, and not being like annoying kids. It's just more having their individual ways, right? Because I think Wim is so he's so adorable, right? Just like curious, and his little DD moment when they're like, don't touch the bun," and you like I think he acted that really well because you just see him being like, I mean, I
But it's
um,
right there, and it's
like
glowing.
it's flashing green. Come on. What else do you expect? And even later, when Fern like chastises him for that, what's his name? And Neil is like, it's kind of your fault.
I
Like
love that
it's just
moment.
it's little things like that, right? That I feel like they're building up a good bond of the network of these kids, and I can see that. So, yeah, so I really like the introductions. I felt like it was like essentially just us getting to know them, right? I don't think it wasn't anything crazy that occurred or mind blowing. But that's also, I think I'm enjoying this show personally for different reasons, which is also because not every time Lord of the Rings, not every time The Boys. Sometimes just watch a show that
Just this
you
fun.
you know that things are gonna be all right to a certain degree. So I've been enjoying even the slow peel of the onion and getting to know them and their interaction with their parents. And I feel like each of them has a unique thing going on at home, as with most people. But I mean, it's not just like a group of four friends who have similar upbringings and parents. It's kind of like four flavors of kids, and they're it's almost like Rugrats in space.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And right, so yeah, I've been enjoying getting to know them. How about you?
No, no, I agree with you in terms of the characters being individual, so they almost kind of different pieces of a puzzle that come together,
Yeah,
right? And you have a character like Wim that he has his annoying moments, but that again, that's by design, the things that a kid would do who's starving for
it's
attention.
yeah,
Right, because you get the sense, okay, his mom's not around. We don't know if she's dead or left. We don't know that. I'm
yeah,
sure we're gonna go into that. And his
yeah.
father, he may be trying, and obviously the father cares to a level because obviously
But he
there's
doesn't know how to show it.
trying to show it, and he's so, his or his way of showing is that if I do focus on work and get the work done,
Yeah.
that kind of parent, right? He's not a dick
Mm,
in that stereotypical way that you usually have that parent who's just an asshole, but
mm,
he's just more about
mm.
he's misguided, right? It's like
Yeah,
focus on work, 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 work. Even saying to the kid, aren't you a bit too old for story time? It's just like
yeah.
focus on that,
Mhm.
and you get a sense that Wim, he just wants attention. He wants affection, love,
Wants
and
love,
he's not getting that.
TLC.
So he acts a certain way for the attention.
Yeah.
It's something that kids would do. I'm interested. We don't see KB's parents.
Mm,
I wonder if
that's
that's by
true.
design.
I
We
think so.
we see Neil's parents. They're the typical like, "Oh, we love you. Our son's great.
Mhm.
Hug, hug," kind of parents. He has that kind of from the outside looks like everything's all perfect and
It's
fine.
so adorable.
Right? And then you have Fern, who's a daughter of Undersecretary Farah, so mom's very
Mhm.
important. I love
Yes.
when the mom's like, "I took time of my day. You should be all lucky."
Yeah.
To take care of you guys. Meanwhile,
Uh,
she's just doing it so that,
Ambessa.
she but meanwhile, she's doing it so that she can help out her daughter do better in school.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh,
Uh,
some nepotism going on over
what a
there."
use of power.
And the daughter's like, "No, I
Yeah.
just want to have fun.
That was
Stop telling me to do stuff." And again, you
yeah.
understand why Fern is like that. She's that rebellious
Yeah.
because you can tell the pressure from her mother, like, "Yeah, you're going to do this and
Yeah.
you're going to do this. And this is that parent that has planned your whole life ahead of you. Right.
Mhm.
In that
But also
sense.
trained you up and gotten you to a point where, she's clearly very clever,
Hmm.
and confident.
Hmm. Yes, sir. He's the captain now. Right.
I love that exchange, right?
And
So
I
yeah.
love again, I love the dynamics between the kids. Even when they find the Jedi temple, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and just the moments where they do a good job of just like how just young boys are, and young girls are, and just that kind of dynamics where you both think the others are stupid, kind of
Yeah,
when you're
like,
young.
we got the boys to shovel. And
He's
yeah,
like,
I
"Ha,
love how he
we got to shovel."
I was like, when he was like, "Oh, when we get inside, we're gonna call, what is it called again? What is their phrase for like their version of shotgun? I can never
Oh,
forgetting. Um, because the
callsies. No,
girls called it outside, so it's like
yeah, yeah.
it's not same it's not samesies, obviously. Can't
No,
believe I'm
no. Was
blanking
it
on this.
callsies? I like the idea that it's
It
just
is.
like they stick so solid to the rules because like,
Yeah,
well, they did say it. Neil's
they
like, well,
they
they
did.
did say it.
And he's like, "Well, but when we get inside, we're gonna call it on the inside." And
It's
then
yeah.
and Neil's like, "That's genius." He's like, so like I'm enjoying just seeing the kids, yeah, kind of be
Being
kids,
kids,
right? Being
right?
kids around very advanced technology and things, and even SM33, who was one of my standouts with the episode. So I'm definitely jumping because
Uh,
I get
played by Nick
you go.
Frost.
Yes. His visuals, I think, were really good too. Like this story feels very well made so far, right? It's not in any way slacking, I feel, and his visuals and he almost felt like an Anthony Hopkins Transformer.
I feel like this character is kind of modeled off of. I don't know if you've seen the movie Hook.
How they're like old movie?
Yeah, yeah, the
Oh
Hook.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
Robin
yeah,
Williams.
yeah.
Yeah, and Captain Hook's right hand man. was Shmi. SM33, if you put that into
Yes,
letters, is
France.
Shmi.
Mm,
Shmi was
Smith.
the right hand of the captain, the first mate, which is like this. He was the first mate. So I think
Right.
that plays on that character. You have the pirate kind of stylings. Even the idea of the rat in the eye or the rat-like
Yeah,
creature in the eye is almost
yeah.
like a parrot on the shoulder.
Mm,
You know, a little touch. And even the
digital
busted leg
version.
is like a peg leg the way he walks.
Yes, so that peg leg, yeah, was
It's
very
a lot of pirate visuals and aesthetics. I think I was one of those kids that loved pirates as a kid.
for sure. Same. I was
Like,
about to say very Blackbeard because
yes, oh, loved all that
Blackbeard.
stuff.
If you ever watched did you ever watch this show called Black Sails? I don't. Wow, so many times
Yes,
yesterday.
yes, I did.
Oh, you're a good
Yes, I
lad.
did.
So yeah, I was thinking about that guy because he was the same guy in Vikings, the season, new Vikings. Anyways,
And it's one
so
of those things where the pirate narrative has always been there with Star Wars, but we haven't really
yeah,
gotten focused. We've seen a lot of it in some of the animated stuff. See some of the pirate character.
briefly. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
very
the
brief.
animated ones. Yes.
Yes, and even
Um.
fun fact, one of the pirates we see in the background when they go to Port Bogo is a
Mhm.
character called Vane, who's some
Yes.
pirate we see in Mando
Dun,
as
dun,
well. So
dun.
it's a nice
Easter egg.
little Easter egg in there. And I think, yeah, seeing the pirate narrative, I look forward to seeing more of these kids going on pirate style adventures. All right, with
Yeah,
the
same.
skeleton crew.
Because you know, I mentioned just to rewind back. This show started off with the bang. Sorry, I must say, the opening scene, the ships, sort of penetrating
Oh,
the
it was
other
just like,
one. Sorry,
oh
can't
shit.
think of a better word because like that was a violation for what they did. Like,
The airlock tunnels just smashing
bam,
in,
nah.
and it
So
takes out one of the
like,
guys gets hit across.
like I
Oh,
mean that's quote unquote as good as a movie cinema entry level. I mean entry opening scene.
it's one of those things, where the airlocks smash through. One, it's such a
Mhm.
great pirate motif because in pirate stories, you always see they throw like the rope hooks to grab onto the other
Yeah.
ships to pull them in. So it's
Mhm.
like a version of that. But
Exactly,
it's like,
digital version.
why have we not seen that before in like anything in
I think
space?
yeah,
Like where it's like your airlock tunnel just smashing through so that you can kind of
yeah,
run through it. I mean, if it's happened, it's not something you see often. I'm not saying it's
yeah,
never happened before, but
yeah,
it's not a tired trope, right? That should be a
yeah,
tired
not at
trope
all.
by now.
No, I hear your point. It feels like a, "Oh, duh." It's
Exactly. Like, oh shit,
like same version as opposed to
that's cool.
rope,
Right.
just
And I like this opening because, well, two reasons. One is because it almost sets the tone that yes, even though this is with kids, we're still going to push it a little bit,
yeah, yeah,
right? Yeah,
for
from
sure.
right from the opening, right? It's just letting us know the kind of the level of like action and violent tone of
And
what
I
we're
think
gonna
that was
get.
very intentional, right?
Yes,
It was to tell some of us, "Wait, wait,
don't
whoop,
worry.
whoop, wait, don't leave, wait." Okay, that's literally what they
It's
said in
so
that.
true. It's
Even
so true.
the mutiny with Jude Law,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
No, the not Jude Law, right?
the
That's not Jude Law,
the
right?
the put on my hood, like um, but yeah, dot like even that the way that played out, and Wolfman taking over.
Mhm.
Of course, I forgot Wolfman's name. Brutus.
Captains, yeah, Brutus, yeah.
Brutus. Like that storyline is very interesting, and of course, they know. I know they know that I want to know where that goes, and they did all that intentionally. So
Mm.
I have some. I'm ashamed. I don't know how many episodes does this have.
I think it will have
This
9
season?
or 8,
Okay,
8 or 9.
g- good. Good because I want them to be able to ramp up and deliver a lot because again no high expectations, no low expectations, literally none. But from this entry point, right? If this is the tone of the first and second episode, I'm expecting a show that may surprise people at the end. Just even if it gives us like the acolyte, God bless her soul.
Mhm.
Um, just the scene with killing all those little young Jedi,
Uh-huh,
right?
uh-huh.
Like those kind of scenes, we might get some key takeaways from this show for sure. And
Uh-huh.
I feel like it's also going to be a great entry point for even like some of my like younger nieces and nephews into the Star Wars universe to now be like, oh, and start to almost search out different comics and stories themselves because they now understand when we say Star Wars, it's not just a zoom, right? That's part of it.
Mhm.
a big part, but there is so much that's in this rich world. Like I feel
Mm,
like Star Wars is almost more fantasy than sci-fi. I was trying to convince my wife, right? Some people still almost take it to a sci-fi story, and I'm like,
no.
no, no, not really to me.
It's funny, I've always said I got into Star Wars late. I didn't
Mm,
get into Star Wars like, I'd watched some stuff, I wasn't into it till at least my early 20s
yeah,
because I was a Star Trek guy. Star Wars is
yeah,
fantasy. Star Wars is knights and saving the
yeah,
princess and, magic and wizards and things
yeah,
like that. And I would say that a lot of modern Star Wars movies have embraced a lot of the sci-fi elements. Andor feels
mm,
like a sci-fi show.
yeah.
Some elements of Mandor. I think the Mandor. Mando
Man, yo,
Mando
Marvel, that's a
balances,
great crossover episode.
right? So I think some of the new stuff, and I think this also does balance it. I think the fantasy aspects are kind of, again, I think this is why what makes it a good entry point is that the fantasy
But,
aspects are how kids today see Star Wars in that world, right? It's like cool,
yeah,
people with Jedi powers and Siths even playing with the toys, kind of how kids
mhm,
would play with the toys,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
he's looking at it kind of like how kids today would look at it,
yeah.
right? And this thing, and it was funny because I was reading this article about it. And the director said, because some people complained, they're like, "Wait, why would he be playing with Star Wars toys in Star Wars? That makes no sense." But he was saying how, well, it's like how when you grew up, you played with like you
People
might
with
play with like
guns.
cowboys or no, but not
Yeah,
just that, but like the Knights of the Round Table, like
yeah.
Lancelot. Yes, there's a fantasy element, but there's also a
Mhm,
real element to it. Knights
mhm.
existed, right? It was a
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah.
How the King Arthur story plays out, like, oh, that's questionable, but those kind
But
of characters
the
existed.
knights did exist. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
There was a round table and all that
but
stuff. So
yeah,
it's like they live in that world where Jedi Knights and Sith Lords
yeah,
existed. They may not know
yeah.
the full stories. I even liked when they kind of playing around him and Neil. They have their little battle, like zoom.
The shadow, the shadow,
That was
shadow
cool.
saber fight.
I
Neil's like,
like
wait,
that.
wait, wait, wait.
Oh, my guts
Yeah,
everywhere.
guts up.
Blah, blah. And
uh,
that's such a kid. I
so
love that. Such
cute.
a kid moments,
And
and I
people
thought
were
that was cool.
watching them across the street the
They're
whole
missing.
time. Like,
About to miss their bus.
like what? Like, what are you doing?
I want to talk about this planet. This planet we've never heard of.
You know, I was just about to say the land of eternal treasure.
Aten.
What?
Oh, that's
Where?
and it's
They were
known to
messing with
yes.
me. I thought the second time, because first time somebody said at and it was like I think it was SN33. He was like, I never heard of that. Then they said it again on the planet, and then I was like, is this show messing with me? Is it
It
until they finally revealed that
is,
so it is
a planet
what
that
is that?
many people don't
Oh,
know
shit, okay.
about, and to many, it's like a secret place that's some supposed to be eternal treasure according to pirate law,
Mhm.
and we know that they're removed from a lot of things. They even have like a
Yeah,
barrier around their planet.
yeah. Hmm.
They've never even seen stars. They even know what that is. It's like, what are those?
It's
Like
just
that,
crazy.
not even like I've never seen stars. It's like, what are those?
What are those? Like
Right.
it's pure complete like lack of association to that concept.
Also, let's talk about their schooling, right? In school, they're about to get this test, for the great work. Whereas this world where kids at a very young age are put through this test and said, all right, this is what your job for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And somehow the kids are excited about menial jobs. And
Yeah.
if you have any kind of aspirations for anything great and artistic or anything creative, it's like, no, 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 no. Calm down with all that. Enjoy the menial job. You can be an accountant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So which leads me to
Mm.
believe, and here's my we're going to theory place. Right? It's like who are the villains and who are the antagonists and who are the good guys.
Mhm.
What we do know in Star Wars universe is, you had the Empire, they took over for X amount of years, and they were defeated when Luke and Darth Vader, Anakin back as Anakin, killed
Yeah.
the Emperor. And so we had a time of peace where the New Republic took things back again.
Yeah.
Right? There was obviously transition time, and this is the
Mhm.
transition part of the transition time as well. And then we know years later when Rey and Finn come along, the New Order, which was like a
Mhm.
splinter group of the
Mhm.
Empire, has taken over again,
Mhm.
right? So, and what we've seen in shows like the Mando and like Mando is that they've been l- people who are support of the New Order slowly doing things in the background, right? Like we saw
Yeah.
Moff Gideon, right?
Mhm.
In Mandalorian. So here's my theory comes into play. This planet belongs to the bad guys, and they are training kids up to one day, like, happily take on look,
Join
all
the
those
Knights of
robots
Ren.
have all those robots have cameras, right? There are cameras everywhere. These
That's
kids are
true.
because you one of the things you always see with the new order in the empire, right? You always see the people on the ships doing the menial tasks on the computer center.
Yeah.
They can't all be evil, right?
Yeah.
So the way I see it is that
Yeah.
these are people who are lied to and told we're doing for
Mhm.
the great work, the great good,
Mhm. Mhm.
manipulated as kids. 20 years later, these kids are the ones
Mhm.
going to be working all those machines and the spacecrafts and all that stuff for the new order. These people, even Farah's, what's her name, Fern's mother, she's part of it because they feel very like bad guys, militaristic
Oh,
order controlling the way they look. Everything feels like surveillance state controlled clean.
ambassador style
Right, right.
from our
What do
King
you think of
Khans.
my theory that the kids are going to find out that this planet is not as nice? They're not really part of the Republic. I think their secret planet's part of the bad guys.
That's a fantastic theory. I think I could definitely see that. You throw my mind wide open.
I'm just saying, keep
Because yeah,
watching it with that mindset.
it's crazy that nobody knows about, or it's like it's a myth. One,
Mhm.
um, and it's crazy that yeah, you're right. They're also excited to be basic. um, and usually when you see those, it's like almost Alien Romulus
Mhm.
at the beginning. It's like it's usually not a happy place when people are being kept in such a state, or it's
Mhm.
like Stepford Wives. Like there's
Mhm.
some kind of
Exactly.
some sort of brainwashing is going
Mhm.
on here, right? It's almost impossible to. There's something in the water, guy.
Exactly.
I could for sure see that. I definitely was not thinking that till you said it. I feel, and I guess that's what's interesting about not having an expectation for this show. I haven't
Mhm.
necessarily turned on like my Sherlock hats, right? It's like when you're playing FIFA and you're still leaning back. Like I'm watching and I'm waiting. Other than when Jude Law's on the screen, and then I'm like, okay, back. So I'm actually gonna semi rewatch with 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 the squint eyes of like, because you're right. I do remember as I just and
Go.
Fern's mom. I do remember her demeanor and
Mhm.
just being like, okay, right,
They
watch
seem
her.
very first order to me, like,
hmm
so much. They don't seem like all the there's so much control and just
Yeah,
like everything's too clean and too perfect, and also,
yeah,
like, we notice things like they're very why are they removed from everything else,
yeah.
right? Especially
Completely
after we've
blocked
won.
off and
We've
sectioned
won.
off.
We beat the emperor. Why are we
hmm
to the point they're so sectioned off that their currency is, like, thousands of years old. Like,
Yeah,
no one has seen this is from the old Republic
yeah.
era, like,
Like
not even, like, hundreds of years or 10
mm,
decades. This is
that's like
old,
forgotten. So this is Dune timelines.
right? So
I
it's
think
like
I've mentioned all of our podcasts.
that should be a trick you do every episode.
I literally just wrote it down in my mind, like that weatherman when they plug everyone. But no, for real though, like that money is ancient of days
Mhm.
money, right? Like from Jerusalem type money, and when is there ever a good person sectioning off people for good?
No, no. Absolutely.
Never.
We also know that
So
the emperor always had multiple contingency plans, right? Which
mhm.
one of them also was cloning, which how he was able to come back in
Yeah,
the more recent movies. But was
yeah,
this also a
mhm.
contingency plan, right? Because again, the new order has to come back somehow, and it can't
Yeah,
just come back
yeah.
like that, right? There has to be slow progress.
hmm
And why is this planet hidden? And why does it continue to be hidden? Why is it the robot says when the dad is looking for the robot says, like interstellar spaceships are not allowed in or out?
Yeah.
Right. Why is
It's
everything
like
so
in or
closed?
out.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a and from the pirates' point of view, it could be that they've been, over the years, this whoever's in control of this planet has been bringing in lots of money, and maybe there's a
Mhm.
treasure trove full of those
Yeah, yeah.
of money, right? Maybe that's some of them the currency it was transporting was the opening scene was probably being transported to or from this
Mm,
planet.
yeah,
You look at the environment. What I love the environment of at it. It's
yeah.
such interesting. A lot of people complained like, "Oh, how can Star Wars have suburban environments?"
How
I'm
can't
like,
it? How can't
because
it?
they have farm environments, they have city environments, they have like why
Right,
does that
like,
why do we
I
cross
repeat, how can't it?
why do we cross the
People just
line there?
like to nitpick sometimes, I promise you. It's just
And
like
like
I don't understand what you
like
it
what we have whole cities, we have villages, we have towns. This is where suburbans where we draw the line. There's no kids in Star Wars. Yeah, like, well, I actually liked it, and the visual of the environment looked really cool because there are parts where looked like it was miniatures, and there are parts that looked like CGI, and there are parts where you have the live action, people, but somehow it all gelled in one, it didn't look separate.
Yeah, it blended well together. Even
So
when they're
well
just
together.
running and they showed all the houses, I don't know why that scene stuck in my head. Like I love the design for the houses and everything just felt like, yeah, it's okay.
Yep,
We're working with this.
yep, it works. Even the little tablet style things,
Mm-hmm.
the way he clicks through it and it
Yeah,
flips.
that little
I
it
thought that
was
was
so.
cool.
That's what I love about Star Wars. That and I love, I guess, just sci-fi in general. It's just like a different level of like advancement and being backwards because like
Mm,
you're turning like we have iPads for it, come on. But it's still advanced
yeah,
in a different way.
right, right. Um, I did again juxtaposing from their like fun school town or planet life. You know, once they jump into the ship, I
Hmm.
liked the ship how when it leaves, it was upside down and kind of flips over.
And then yeah,
That was a
and
cool look. Or just coming out of the ground, right? That kind of visual of the ground falling apart. I thought
it
that was
was
really
really
well
well
done.
done,
Yeah,
really well done. But
definitely.
listen, maybe it was just me, but I was shading the dad right there. Like I don't know what I was expecting him to do, but there wasn't enough urgency
Now
from him.
I was shading the dad when the dad was like, "I've got to go. Here's some money for food. Go bye." Like what?
Go, go,
Like
you boy who lost your mother.
like, just like that? He's just gonna be like, "Here's some money. Here you go." Like, clearly, the boy doesn't even know how money works right now, because even
Mhm.
later on, he's just like, "I don't know. Here."
It
You
almost feels like the dad is written to be, which is fine. It's not like the bad thing. But I don't like when I can tell that somebody's like written to be a bad dad. If that makes sense. It's like he's not even trying. It's like he's just doing what he should not do.
exactly.
Which happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it just feels he feels very he feels slightly jarring in his demeanor. Not in like a makes me leave the fantasy way. It's just like,
Mhm.
oh, that guy's weird.
Um, I like the kind of when you see the kids go to the spaceport, which is
Uh-huh.
named, Port Borgo. I like the visual.
Yes.
It's built into an asteroid. It was
Hmm.
a nice little touch, and just like their fish out of water ignorance out there. You know, they have no idea what the hell's going on. They're
About
just running
anything.
around.
And so I guess I feel like I like that this show has brushes of depth into the Star Wars lore and in a way that ties into it making sense, right? So I don't know. I'm almost going to bank on. I'm not saying this show is not going to be for everybody. I can almost promise you that because Star Wars is not for everybody, even though it should be. Um, but the show is going to end maybe surprising people, especially based on the start, right? And it's just because the things they've opened up aren't like huge, but it's also kind of huge because it could go anywhere. Especially
Mhm.
that I mean, when are we discussing, cliffhanger? I don't know.
Oh, let's
Because
go
we're
to it. Let's go to it. Jude Law's character comes out. Actually, firstly, it's a nice little. They have a nice little Pirates of the Caribbean homage when they're
my
trying to get the
favorite.
little rat thing to open the gate. That's a
Mhm.
moment of Pirates of the Caribbean, and it doesn't work. And then Jude Law
Freaking
just comes out,
out. Mm.
which makes me two questions I ask for you. Two
Okay.
questions. You know, Fern. I mean, not Fern. Wim. Which fun fact? Wim's a nice little. I wonder if it's done on purpose because he does things on a whim. Haha, haha.
Mm.
He's
Uh-huh.
spontaneous. Haha,
Uh-huh.
haha.
Uh-huh.
I wonder
Uh-huh.
if that's reasoning. Wim was like, "Oh my god, he is a Jedi." Question is, do you think he's a Jedi? Because he doesn't have to be a Jedi to be a Force user,
Nah,
right?
it's not. It's okay. It's not. He's no Jedi.
Because
Well,
we
probably
believe
not.
okay, let's just put it out there, we've hinted at it, but we believe he's the guy in the mask in the beginning. Because he gets 2 names. The guy in the mask
Mhm.
in the beginning is known as, Captain Silver, but in
Yes.
the credits, when you see Jude Law's character, he's known as
Mhm.
Jod, Jod.
Yes.
Do you think Silver and Jod are one and the same? I believe so.
Fine. Let me act like AI. I'll give you three options. One, twins. They're not twins, but hey, acolytes. So twins. One's a Jedi, one was bad. Two, that's obviously him. Now been locked up for whatever reason. The question is, why did he turn from being
Why
a
now?
Jedi into being a pirate?
Yes.
Why did he get surface now?
He could have escaped
Why?
any time.
Yeah. So that's the confusing part, right? Because that was a, oh, I'm now ready to leave since I found how I'm going to leave, right?
Yeah,
Because it
probably
seemed
because
like
he needed a
it's
ship.
because they had the ship
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. True, true. You're
Um,
right.
so but that means, yeah, he's been perching here for a while, right? Reconsidering his strategy,
Mhm.
or I guess that is the strategy. I'll hang around this prison till somebody with a ship
Or
comes
maybe
by.
or maybe also he heard them talk about at Aten, and he's like, "Ooh,
Mhm. Ooh, okay,
ooh,"
like
you know?
that's worth me leaving this spa.
Because again, as much as, we look at him as a good guy because it's Jude Law playing a lead character we've seen on the posters, doesn't mean he's not a questionable character. He's still introduced
Yeah,
as a pirate, right? And doesn't just because he's a force user, even if he was a former Jedi, we've known former Jedi to change.
yeah,
It's
which
not.
is very possible.
So that is
Um,
interesting to see. But I do like, I don't know, as much as we don't see much of
mm,
him, I think I'm gonna like Jude Law in this.
so far, I'm intrigued, and I was gonna say it could even be the opposite, right? Maybe he could start bad and good. That's
True,
another
true.
great thing about Star Wars is
These kids change his heart.
what you see is not what you get. Yeah, I could see that. I could see him scamming them, getting to um Al Jazeera, so where they go, and their planet. And on the journey there, he's been softened, kind of
Yeah,
like Jinx and Arcane.
exactly.
Another
Because he
plug.
you can tell you can tell that the story will probably be that his motivation is selfish. It's just like, oh, this
Mhm.
kid's gonna get me there. But then
Yeah,
on that journey, he kind of
finds
gets.
purpose.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Refines his purpose with these children, and then yeah, like I said, you can find out that he takes his kids to this planet and realizes that this planet isn't what we thought. It's not this
Yeah,
paradise.
yeah,
It's a prison with
y-
rose wall gardens,
yeah,
but there's still
yeah.
walls are there. Yeah.
And the question, because you asked it, right? Because who's the protagonist? I guess that's
Yes.
what maybe
Yep.
that's what's almost making me uneasy. Is it? Because I feel like whenever you watch a show, or at least me and such, it's always like, all right, where is he? Like
But that's the
you're
thing,
waiting for so I can direct my aggression.
and I think it's going to kind of set up the protagonist to be pirates or some form of pirates. And I'm sorry, the antagonists to be
Hmm.
pirates. But I think the antagonist will be the planet or the people that control the planet, and the pirates are going to
Hmm.
be the good guys who are trying to, save the day because they're the,
Hmm. Of
and I
the
think
unwilling good guy.
exactly. You can see like maybe the skeleton crew are going to band together a whole bunch of pirates that don't work together for a greater cause,
Hmm.
against this place and promise of treasure and things like that.
Yeah,
I can see that happening. Um, any
can't wait to see.
moments that stood out to you that I haven't spoken about yet? I'll start with one, something that you probably
Okay.
didn't notice, and many people didn't notice, and I didn't notice this until my second viewing. The opening scene that we so loved is pretty much almost shot for shot a remake of the first Star Wars film, A New Hope. When Leia and them are running away and Darth Vader and them are chasing after them. It starts the same.
Yes.
They attack on the
Okay.
ship. They're waiting to be shot. The doors
Ah,
open, but this time it's pirates coming in. But it's almost shot for shot, and almost frame for
interesting.
frame, exactly the same. It's a nice touch.
Okay, okay.
Anything that you
Definitely, I did
liked?
not pick up on that at all. Like, not in the slightest.
I can see now young kids who watch this for the first time and then watch A New Hope and like, oh, New Hope is
They'd be
copying.
like, "Oh, yeah." Oh my gosh. Um, like, I think we already mentioned it, but just yeah, when Fern told SM33 that um just show how quick she thinks, right? Because he was like, "Oh God, Captain," that's she's like, "Yeah, I killed your captain," and he's like, "What? No way." She's like, "No, no, I did. I spilled his guts and I threw him out the airlock." And
and
he's
and then
like,
Wim's like, I want to be
"Said
captain.
my
Well,
lip."
to be captain, you have to defeat.
She's like, "All right, never mind." So I just thought, yeah, it was one of those scenes where what, like 15 seconds, they've gotten to show different people's personalities, I think, very well, right? All the way from how she addressed SM33 to Wim trying to then, you know, almost being too late and showing his, like you said, moving on a whim type self. So yeah, I just enjoyed that scene. I feel like it set up a good partnership between Fern and SM33 that I hope
Mhm.
is a longer fruitful
Leave my
partnership.
captain alone.
Like, oh, that was so dope because that was where this
Well,
was going. Because when he came out at the end, fantastic.
I liked when Wim doesn't realize that they have their test tomorrow. And Neil's like, "How do you not know the test was tomorrow? Why do you think everybody was studying all the time?" And Wim's like, "Well, people we're always studying all the time." I like
It
that.
just it shows how different they are and how they think.
But yeah, Neil will still follow
Mm.
him, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, he's still following him everywhere. I also liked when you think that William's about to crash into like some giant chasm. Like I thought that was a lot deeper. When he slides off the bike,
But yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
oh, I thought he was gonna be
Like,
hanging off the edge.
then like in typical Hollywood fashion,
Right,
right?
right.
Like one of those.
It was like, no, he fell down. And it was
It's
like
like,
not too deep that he's injured, but deep enough that he's stuck. I was like, okay, I
yeah,
like that.
okay. That's why I said it. I feel like this show is hitting. It's giving me a break from all the boys and Lord of the Rings. It's just like, no, these are some semi bad situations. They're deep situations, yes, but not every time. But still, I can't wait to see how. I'm actually very much looking forward to where they're taking this.
So am
Um,
I.
and I'm excited to discuss this show with people who do watch it. I guess like any Star Wars content. And I feel like the few people that I've spoken to that haven't been as interested, um, I'm almost expecting to see some things to tell them. Just bear with it, okay?
Yes.
Just stick it out because it's not bad anyway. It's actually quite good.
I enjoy
But
it.
it's
I
soft
actually
and
think
and
I
it's
actually think
dense. It's
there's a
dense.
possibility this could end up being up there with some of my favorite Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least there's a potential, and I can see it
Mm-hmm.
already, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I like, speaking of kid style actions and what kids would do, I like that Fern is always telling them a story, a scary story. I heard,
Mm-hmm.
I
Like
heard.
like
It's making shit up all
wait.
the time.
Yeah.
And he's saying things like kids would do, right? If you
Yeah.
watch things like The Goonies, I heard. They tell like scary stories to make kids worried.
Look, I heard is the biggest telltale sign of a lie from kids.
And the kids do that though, right?
Mhm.
Kids do
Oh,
that.
oh, oh, yeah, yes, we did when we were children too.
um, I had a problem in the beginning when he's having his cereal with the blue milk, which is standard Star Wars procedure,
Mhm,
blue milk.
mhm.
I felt there was not enough cereal in that bowl for a kid. There was like 2 drops. I don't know if it was just me, but my kid suffered to fill that up.
That's so funny.
I'm just saying,
This
kind of
is
bothered
not a
me.
healthy diet.
Kind of bothered me. I
Oh
was
my
just like,
gosh, that's hilarious.
you need more cereal in there.
Oh,
Um, I'm curious about KB's head implant. I like the head implant with the visor.
yeah,
I want to know more about her. She seems to be
right.
like, what I like about her character is that, yeah, she's more, in terms of compared to Fern, she's the quieter one, but she's
Yeah.
not a pushover,
No,
right?
not at all.
She'll tell Fern like, "Oh, you're being mean," or "That's not
Me,
right," and stuff like that. She will
and
speak up. I like about
yeah, I
it.
remember noticing that
And I'm curious what we're gonna know about her family. I feel like the fact that you don't show her family
is
is telling.
intentional.
Is very telling. Yes, yes. Uh, I think that's it. I was looking at
Yeah,
my
no,
notes.
excited new content. I love watching things that are brand new, but in a world that I
Like,
I
you want to be
semi
a
know.
Jedi, idiot?
Get don't do it. No.
No, yeah, no, I agree. Any final thoughts before we close out on this one?
I'm excited. I want to see what they do with it. Free reign. Um, I guess I do one more. I made this kind of comment after Silo, the first 2 episodes as well, right? Which was I wanted them to kind of start splicing things a little more together as well. So I do definitely. I think there's a the pacing could be slightly better actually, just to me personally, right? They could, mix in the childish with the dark just a bit more so that it feels almost like a refreshing side to side. So um that's kind of I'm saying this like the in my mind the episodes are not going to change according to what I've said. That's
Well, but
that is
I think there's kind of something there.
Mhm.
I think you will get that because I think
Yeah.
these first 2 episodes are just more
They're
introduction.
setting the tone for sure. Like so
Exactly,
Silo
yeah.
did the same thing and then third episode was
And I think,
exactly it, right? And I think
yeah.
that's what's happening here. I think it's just gonna get I suspect it's just gonna get I'm not expecting each episode to surpass the previous one, but I do want to get kind of a showcase of each character's backstory a little bit, their family, and then seeing enough action elements and concluding this story
But
with whatever that means.
what works, I think, is also, as much as this is a separate story,
Mhm.
there's still the larger story that's happening that these kids happen to be affecting, right?
Yeah.
So it's the larger story of how the pirates see about at Aten, the larger
Yeah.
story of Jude Law's character and these pirates and what their storylines are. And
Mhm.
it's not just like whatever happens in the story doesn't seem to be. I feel like the ramifications of the narrative are going to have larger implications. It's not just a
Yeah.
small
So,
story that happens that
I
that
agree. On the
kind of
side,
happen. A
and
kid's
then
narrative that
bye.
has no consequence. I
Yeah.
think the consequences will be, it'll be one of those where in the larger scheme of it, this story is important. Yeah. And that's what I like about it. It's like low key just kind of building in
Mhm.
the background. And then it will be one of
Uh-huh.
those, oh no, in the importance of Star Wars story, you have to put this up there
It's
now.
up there. Yeah.
That's what I think. What do you nerds think of this narrative? What do you think of this new series? The first two episodes, do you have expectations for where you think it will go? Are you in or are you still waiting to see? Find us on social media at the Nerdy Bunch and let us know your thoughts. You can also ask us questions or send us recommendations at our email, the nerdy bunch podcast at gmail.com. Also, do us a favor, whatever platform
So,
you're listening or watching this on, please give us a good rating,
leave
stars,
a
and thumbs
comment.
up. Leave
Talk
a
to me.
comment as well. Yes, it helps us get the algorithm to spread awareness for us.
And we like to talk to
And we do.
you.
And Andrew's
You
actually all
did
about
really
like,
nice.
I want to comment.
I want
Andrew
to talk to the people.
and Andrew wants to sit there and just do a lot of talking. So if you want to talk
Mhm,
to
mhm,
Andrew, make a comment.
mhm.
Check out some of our other podcasts. We're currently reviewing Silo, as Andrew mentioned. We're also doing Dune Prophecy. And coming up in a few days, we shall be also adding to our long list
Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos, the very first of James Gunn's DC universe of
And
stories.
I'm actually very hyped for that.
I am.
Which, well, anyways, yeah, it'll deliver. Whatever.
Yes. So check out for all of those and some of our older podcasts that we have done recently. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, David.
My name is English Dave, and this has been a Nerdy Bunch review for Star Wars Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2. Check us out next week for episode 3. And as always, Andrew,
Keep it nerdy.
peace.